So, at the very, very end of Avengers Endgame, I'm talking after the last credit rolled, there was a sound. And look, it was a simple sound, one that most people probably just missed, but for those who heard it, it sparked one of the most incredible, mind-bending theories in the entire MCU. A theory that suggests the end was really just the beginning.
So, what did that sound actually mean? If you're one of those awesome fans who stuck around through all the credits of Endgame, you definitely heard it. A faint, kind of rhythmic clanking of metal on metal. And there was no post-credit scene to go with it, right? Nothing to see? But that sound, all by itself, gave birth to a theory so massive it could honestly redefine the whole future of the MCU.
Okay, so before we get into the really wild implications here, we have to start with the first piece of the puzzle, that mysterious final sound. What exactly was it? And, why was it even there?
Right, so this was not just some random sound effect they pulled from a library. For anyone who's been following along for a while, it was instantly recognizable. This wasn't a tease for a future movie in the way we're used to. No, this was something different. It felt more like an echo, coming from the very, very beginning of the MCU.
Yep, that's it. The sound that closed out the entire 22-film Infinity Saga was the exact sound of Tony Stark forging his Mark I mask all the way back in that cave in the first Iron Man movie. It was literally the moment that started it all. You gotta admit, it's the perfect bookend to his story. Or was it maybe something more than that?
Now, of course, there is an official explanation. The big boss himself, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, said it was simply a tribute, a heartfelt, poetic nod to Tony Stark, the hero who launched their entire universe. And, on the surface, that makes perfect sense. Case closed, right?
Well, maybe not so fast. See, the core of this whole theory hangs on this brilliant idea of a double meaning. What if that sound wasn't just honoring a hero's beginning? What if it was also secretly planting the seed for a major villain's arrival?
And this is where things get really interesting, because this brings us right to the heart of the theory. A return so completely unexpected, it would shake the entire MCU to its very foundations.
And there it is. The theory is that the sound of Tony Stark creating his heroic identity is also foreshadowing the creation of a twisted, villainous variant of himself, Doctor Doom. And here's the kicker. He wouldn't be recast. He'd be played by Robert Downey Jr. himself. Just let that sink in for a second.
Thematically, this lines up perfectly with ideas the MCU is already playing with. I mean, the Loki series gave us the whole Ouroboros concept, this loop where endings just become the new beginnings. Think about the poetry of that for a second. The sound that started the Infinity Saga would also be the sound that teases its next great threat. It's brilliant.
Now, as absolutely wild as this sounds, I promise you it isn't just some random fan theory that popped up out of nowhere. There is actual evidence to suggest that this exact idea has been floating around at the highest levels of Marvel for quite some time.
I mean, just look at this timeline. We've known for years that Kevin Feige was eager to use Doctor Doom, but the real smoking gun comes from the Russo brothers, the guys who directed Endgame. They confirmed that Feige himself pitched them the idea of RDJ playing Doom, and he did it a while ago. Now that timing is fascinating, right? It suggests this wasn't some recent idea, but something that was potentially in the works right as Endgame was being released.
This is the key. This is the whole thing. This isn't just a theory that bubbled up from Reddit. The idea of Robert Downey Jr. playing Doctor Doom came directly from the architect of the entire MCU, Kevin Feige. That gives this whole theory a completely different level of credibility, doesn't it?
Okay, so if it's plausible, how could it actually happen? How does our greatest hero become our worst nightmare? Well, the answer lies in one single moment. A moment where the timeline splits.
The theory goes that the splinter point is that cave from the first Iron Man film. We're talking about the exact same moment, the exact same man. But in another reality, the choice he makes in that cave doesn't create a hero. Oh no, it creates a monster.
See, our Tony had a change of heart in that cave. He chose to become a protector. But just imagine a variant who learns a totally different lesson, that true peace only comes through absolute brutal control. A Tony Stark who doesn't evolve beyond that raw, intimidating Mark I armor, but embraces it as the ultimate symbol of his power.
And you know what makes this so believable? The core personality is already there. I mean, Tony Stark, Stephen Strange, and the comic book version of Victor Von Doom, they're all cut from the same cloth. They're brilliant, they're arrogant, and they are absolutely convinced they know what's best for everyone. For Tony Stark variant, that slide from hero to tyrant isn't a huge leap. It's just one bad day, one wrong choice.
And you can almost map out the tragic journey, right? This variant escapes the cave but with a terrible, disfiguring facial injury. So, just like Doctor Strange sought out magic to heal his hands, this Tony seeks it out to heal his face. But in doing so, he discovers way more than magic. He discovers the multiverse, and he decides that not just his world, but all realities need his unique brand of tyrannical order.
So let's pull back and just look at the grand design of this whole thing. Because when you see how all the pieces connect, the poetic symmetry of this theory is, well, it's just undeniable. Think about the irony here for a second. It was Tony's own time heist in Endgame that allowed Loki to escape with the Tesseract, which is the event that directly led to the multiverse being unleashed. So in a very real way, our hero, Tony Stark, created the exact conditions necessary for his own evil variant to rise.
Wow. And this is the ultimate payoff. Just imagine, years from now, we see Robert Downey Jr. back on screen. But he's not Iron Man. He's Doctor Doom. And he's hammering his iconic metal mask into shape. And as he strikes that final blow, we hear that same familiar clanking sound. It would retroactively turn that Endgame tribute into the single greatest piece of foreshadowing in cinematic history.
So we're left with a pretty heavy question. Was the sound that honored the MCU's greatest hero also a secret warning? A sign that somewhere out there in the infinite multiverse, the man who saved our universe is destined to become the man who will try to conquer all the others? Now that is a stunning thought to leave you with.